What's going on, guys? It's Ed here from Geek, and I am with Mark Kelly from Inbound Revenue. Mark, what's going on?
All kinds of stuff. Ed, it's awesome to be with you.
Likewise, man. You know, we were chatting beforehand, and it dawned on us that I'd never actually interviewed you for the channel. So I figure, why not spend some time today with you? Just hear your backstory, hear about your business, hear how things are going, and just kind of shoot the shit and go from there. Sound good?
That sounds awesome.
Cool. All right. So talk to me about how you started your agency. When did it start? Kind of give me that origin story.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I was IT before I was marketing, and I actually started an e-commerce business in 2003, learned Google Ads for that e-commerce business. I picked up a couple of clients over the years. I think 2008, I picked up my first paying client. And in 2014, by that time I had made the full shift to marketing, was working in an agency, was about to get fired. And so I started piling up clients on the side. And so I stepped from working for that agency into launching Inbound Revenue. The idea at the time was to be a white label Google Ads agency. I had worked for some other agencies behind the scenes, and I thought this would be a great way to work without having to go out and do the sales and things like that. So that's what I did. I just said, I'm open. I took on some direct clients, some white label clients, anyone literally that would pay me to work. I did work for them. And I had some, terrible clients, some great ones, but some absolutely terrible clients.
Awesome. All right. And talk to me about the e-com business. What were you selling? What was the product?
I was selling skin and hair care products. I started out actually selling art and carvings and things from Africa. And I added a couple of African-based skincare products on the website, and boom, those things started selling. And I realized, hey, people need to wash their hair and use soap more often than they need a piece of art. So we shifted over entirely to hair care, skincare, shea butter, things like that, soaps and stuff like that. And it went strong for quite a few years, and then the Amazon marketplace kind of killed off.
Got it. Okay. So talk to me about the early days in starting your agency. Were you using a CRM, or were you running things on like a spreadsheet? Talk to me about the softwares were you using. So just walk me through someone just starting the agency. What kind of infrastructure costs were you having on a monthly basis? Walk me through the early days.
Oh man, it was necessary to keep my infrastructure costs to a bare minimum. I know I was using Google Sheets. I think I started using something like FreshBooks for billing purposes, and I was using Google Ads interface. I remember investing a huge monthly expense of like $50 into Unbounce, and eventually into CallRail. But that sort of came later as our offerings coalesced a bit. And then, of course, I used various times. I chased a few, zigged and zagged. Chased a few shiny objects. People are like, can you do SEO? Sure, we can do SEO. And can you do Facebook? Sure. I just kept saying yes to things. But throughout that, the core of our revenue always stayed in Google Ads. So I had SEMrush for a while. I had some other tools like that. But I was definitely running on a very much of a budget.
Yeah. I mean, I remember early on, Rob would freak out about like a $300 CallRail bill, I don't.
Wouldn't you love to have a $300 CallRail bill? My
CallRail bill is probably 10 to 20 times that right now. So I would love that. Like early on, I think about the softwares we used early on. We had a Google Sheet for client list. I still use a Google Sheet for a client list, like a recurring payment client list, just so I have a plus on the MRR, or the monthly recurring revenue. Early on, I used a Google Sheet for a CRM early on. We moved into Pipedrive. Simple. It's like $12 a month. Really good mobile-based CRM. CallRail. Reporting, we used a bunch of different reporting softwares, typically a couple bucks per report. And even to this day, I mean, I think our lean days kind of We never got really bloated with our expenses. We still try to keep our expenses as lean as possible. Our biggest expense now by a mile is payroll. All of our technical stuff, we like to keep it tight. You don't need a ton to operate an agency, specifically a Google Ads agency. I mean, what kind of software is you currently running now?
Right now, our key software stack is, of course, Google Ads, Unbounce, What Converts for call and lead tracking. We just use Google Data Studio for reporting. What Converts has reporting built into it as well.
Yep.
So those are the only two things we're using for reporting. We'll use Google Sheets or Google Docs for occasional manual reports. ClickUp is what we're using for project management.
Yep.
And we were using Smartsheet. ClickUp is 1/10 of the cost of Smartsheet. So we saw those costs drop. We have a few nice to have tools like PPC Ad Labs.
Yep.
Rob Warner, as you know, and it's a nice to use tool that we add in there, but probably it's not a tool that is essential to the operation of our business on a day-to-day basis. We have SpyFu, which we use occasionally, but it's as you noted, the tools that you need to have to run an agency are fewer than people think.
Oh yeah. Our stack is Google Ads, like you said. We use Instapage for landing page, CallRail for call tracking, Swidoo for reporting. We use ClickCease for fraud software. That's a flat rate, so that's pretty low. We use Swidoo for reporting. What else we use? We use Asana for project management. We use Basecamp as just a repository of things that we want to keep in there internally for the corporation. We use PPC Ad Lab as well. I'm trying to think, and that's pretty much about it. And I'm sorry, we use Active Campaign and we use Close CRM. So we have two CRMs in there. Active Campaign's legacy at this point, so we're just not getting rid of it, and it's cheap enough that it's not that big of an expense. And Close is really where we spend a chunk of money because it's like $150 per user per month, but comes with a dialer, comes with phone numbers, and it's a bit more robust. But that's about it.
Yeah, actually, I missed a few, which always happens, by the way. You forget about these. So I pay for a few bucks for TubeBuddy, a few bucks for Calendly, a few bucks for Canva.
Shit. We do too.
You do the same thing, right?
We just upgraded Canva to the yearly license. TubeBuddy, I bought the lifetime. I think it was like $300 or $400, and I bought that a couple of years ago. And then what was the other one you said? TubeBuddy, Canva,
Canva, Calendly.
Yeah, we use Calendly as well.
I've got some hosting. I've got SpyFu. We use Constant Contact. We use ClickUp. We also use Help Scout for help desk emails. Of course, there's internet and phone. All told, if you throw those things in there, it actually comes out to $1,800 a month. So I say it's almost nothing, and then you look at it and shit, it's something.
Right. So here's an important note, though. So $1,800, that's not necessary day one if you're launching. You could get away with $100 a month to get someone launched, or really even no cost if the client has their own infrastructure in place. But that $1,800 is going to scale with you to $150,000 a month in revenue, and not have to really increase that unless What Converts has any usage costs.
What Converts is going to have a little bit of usage. That's about the only thing that's going to. So I could double my income, and my costs would stay roughly the same. And those costs pale in comparison to human costs.
Yep.
As you know.
Yeah, as you grow it, the biggest expense you're going to have is your payroll costs and your contractor costs and things like that. So,
yeah, I had someone that I was going back and forth with the other day a little bit, and they're like, "Well, I'm also an hourly contractor." I'm like, "Hold on, we're not an hourly contractor. For us to open the doors every month, so to speak, the virtual doors, it costs X amount of dollars. So you can't really compare." If I was an hourly contractor, which there's nothing wrong with doing that, it's an approach I've a lot of people do, and I've thought of, because it has its own advantages, but your cost structures are very different.
Yep.
There. And you'll keep your, we offer a complete lead gen package to our clients. So that comes with offering certain pieces of software that you as the hourly contractor doesn't have to to carry and pay for.
Yep.
They'll work on their clients' versions.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest jump up from freelancer to agency is having that infrastructure in place, the landing page, the reporting, the call tracking, things like that to make it a robust suite. So it's not just Google Ads management, it's building out the lead gen side. So you're taking them through traffic into lead gen and making the phone ring and having the form submissions come through. That's the biggest jump.
I don't disagree with you. I was thinking through things there as I was listening to you, because that was a big change early on. Was I would just I literally used Craigslist back then to get leads. I had a Craigslist app, and I would search certain categories. I forget exactly which one it was, and I would just search for keywords like AdWords and stuff like that, and PPC, and find people that were saying, "I need help with something." Then I'd jump in and I'd help them, whether it was e-commerce or help with their search or display or YouTube or whatever it was. We just dive in and try to figure it out.
Yep. I remember those days early on. You could do the same thing with Facebook groups. So that goes into like the prospecting side of things. So that was early on. What you did in order to generate leads. One of the ways that we generated leads early on was through Facebook groups. So networking in Facebook groups, answering questions, providing value. People
still do that.
Yeah,
still do that.
Absolutely.
Don't have as much time for it, but still do it.
100%. And then it just goes on to being a purveyor of knowledge and information and a safe person that's not going to hammer you with a sales pitch, just being helpful and answering questions. People see that, people will start recommending you, and leads will start to flow in. What else are you doing on lead front since the early days? Like, what have you been doing over the years to bring in leads and sales?
Yeah, the interesting thing was that at the time I left the agency I was a salesperson, and I actually went out and did a lot of traditional sales type things, going to the BNI groups and going to the challenge with that was no matter what I got up in front of people and said that I did, all anybody heard was that's the web guy. Yep. So they'd immediately come over and tell me their WordPress site was down or, something like that. And so I found that was not particularly fruitful, but I did pick up some clients that way. I think if you're doing general marketing, that sort of sales approach would work better than if you're specialized in a niche, especially when it's kind of technical that people have to understand. Other things we do is very active on Facebook, and we've gotten a lot of business that way over the years, referrals, obviously buying leads, having the web, existing. And that seems to, over time, just get some business to come your way. Yep. And then we have an email list that we don't hit as hard as we ought to. I admire Josh Nelson because I get 17 of his emails a day. And
they work. He does send a lot of emails, but he does it for a reason.
Yeah, I know. And I chastise myself quietly in my mind. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send out an email and I'll see the unsubscribes come through, and I'm like, damn it. But then I think that guy wasn't buying anything anyway, so that's why they left. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Not your target audience.
Exactly. So what else is cooking in the agency nowadays? Like, bring me up to current speed. How are things going? What's the outlook? Like, what's structure look like? Give me a little bit of a current update on what's cooking.
Well, the way we structure is I've always been because I've owned some real world businesses. So I've always been a fan of the outsource contract model. And we're always upfront with people. We have people in the States here who primarily do account management and project management, things of that nature. Most of our experts are in Eastern Europe. And there's a smart group of educated, highly educated people over there that do most of that we work with on Google Ads. We've had most of those people on the team for years. We have a pretty solid core team that we work with, or everyone knows pretty much what their tasks are. So I feel super good about that. We're sort of following in the invisible PPC model and some other white label agencies have done, where we're niching down into specific niches that we know perform well. Will we take on an occasional client, in some unknown space, perhaps? But we're finding our systems work better, and we're able to deliver more value to the clients when we stay inside niches that work well. Yep. And they have historical performance in.
I agree. Yeah, we took the same path as well. Early on when Rob and Joe did that at Invisible. So for those that don't know, they basically stripped out all the niches they'd be in and closed it down to, I think it was maybe 50 or 100 niches, and said, we'll only operate within these. In my mind, initially, I was like, okay, the market just opened up. We can take on way more of this white label business. And it was great when we did. But as we're doing it, I'm seeing the strategy behind it. And as Alex Hermosi says, strategy is not what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. So
I love that quote.
I love that. Yeah. It dawned on me like, oh, these guys are doing this because it's outside. It breaks the system. The Ford assembly line is not built to make Volvos, and the Volvo assembly line is not built to make Fords. So it dawned on me why they did it. And then we implemented a similar structure. You implemented a similar structure, and it has made life a lot easier in terms of getting clients onboarded and consistently producing results, and made life a lot easier. So yeah, I'm happy we went that approach as well.
Yeah, you have to realize what business you're in, and we have ways to serve clients that are in niches that aren't really our forte.
Yep.
We'll do one-time campaign builds. We'll do audits. We also have some agencies that need sort of a support. They're a larger agency and they need support. We have some hourly arrangements with those folks, but we have to find things. I think this is a lesson for every agency out there, is you have to find that thing that you do well and that you can duplicate if you want to scale. You can't scale without the ability to duplicate what you do on a regular basis. And if you can't scale, you can't grow your agency.
Yep. I'm with you. Things just start to spin the wheels. You're onboarding, you're churning, and it just isn't pretty at that point. So I'm with you. If you can build out that machine on the front end to get clients in and out of the onboarding process fast and get them live, I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'm with you there. Talk to me about your thoughts on the economy moving forward. So right now, as we film this, we're June 29th, 2022. Where do you think we're headed? What's your outlook on, say, the next 6 months, a year, 3 years, something like that?
It's going to be real squishy. I had missed the last two major economic crises.
Right.
So I'm a lot more, I'm not necessarily more bearish on the economy, but I am more cognizant of the fact that it's possible that there's, a cliff out there that I don't see, because I obviously didn't see the pandemic cliff, and I didn't see the 2008 cliff that came in, and that was a real cliff there. So I didn't necessarily project either one of them as being out there. So I think it's definitely the economy is probably going to churn a bit over the next year or so. There's so many weirdnesses with them trying to get the interest rates back up, simultaneously bringing inflation down, simultaneously dealing with a war in the Ukraine and Russia that's driving up energy costs, and then add on the whole we can't get goods and services or goods shipped. And I'm like, there's no economist that has a clue. They're all making statements, but I bet in a year you're going to look back and most of them were wrong.
Got it. Yep.
So I don't know. We're going to navigate as best we can. We're going to try to serve those businesses that remain solid throughout the whole pandemic, and try to continue to serve those clients as best we can. I'm kind of glad that we're in service-based type niches that I think work well, whether people are buying houses or people are trying to extend improve the current house they're living in. Yep,
that's true. True. Okay. Talk to me about lead generation. What's your favorite lead gen method? What do you lean on in terms of getting things?
We lean on partnerships. My favorite, and I'm terrible at content, Ed, and I say this every time we get together, and you're like, Mark, do more.
Yeah.
We will. I promise. This time, I promise. I really mean that.
Good.
Probably my favorite, though it's not the most prolific one for it, is my favorite is Facebook, because we drop, value there. And there's a lot, it's a lot more, it's a pretty nice community in the PPC side of things. And we get a lot of referrals from people, and we get a lot of conversations started, and we refer a lot of people. Yep. And there's a lot of people asking, honest questions, presenting their data, trying to figure things out. And so we jump in on conversations, or I jump in on conversations there, even when they're obviously not a potential client. But I just feel like that's one of those things where you cast your bread upon the water and it comes back to you, type of thing. So that would probably be my favorite. LinkedIn, yep. Never made that work.
Yep.
Twitter, I just read that to get angry. So
nice.
Yeah,
you nailed something there about just putting things out there, because I think the stats are what is it? 3%, or what is, I'm sorry, 1% are posting on social platforms, 5% or 4% are interacting with the posts, and then 95% are reading what everyone else is writing. So it's you never know, even if you've had zero interaction with someone on a post, you never know who's actually reading the post and watching the posts and watching the videos. Those are the people that will end up being customers, not necessarily the people you're actually interacting with. So I like your approach there, and I agree with it. The majority of people are lurking on social platforms and aren't interacting, but they could spend hours a day there. So I think that's a wise move.
The beauty of Facebook, if you stay away from the ugly side of it, is that it is a community that shares a lot of information, seeks a lot of answers, shares a lot of answers.
Yep.
And I enjoy that aspect of it. And I think that now that I feel like we've got the agency in a great place in terms of we have the right people in the right places, I expect to spend a lot more my time generating content, trying to share information that I will find out if people think it's interesting or not.
Cool. I like it. Awesome. Anything you want to leave the audience with today?
Well, if you're in the agency world, I think the key things are to find a few good people to follow, and make sure, just continue to follow them, continue to, whether it's Josh or your channel or whatever, continue to follow those people, try to pick a niche, pick a service, pick a thing that you do, stick with it and try to be good at it, and treat everybody as right as you can.
Yep. Yeah. One thing you said there that I really like to stick with it. Rob and I think one of our best attributes is that we are persistent, and that persistence beats most things.
Absolutely.
The falling water beats the rock, and all it needs is time. And
when I had and I've had this before, I've owned a couple of other businesses, but to fight that sort of shiny object syndrome, what I do is if I start something, I'm mentally commit to it for X period of time. Mm-hmm. Like however this works out, I'm going to spend the next 3 years doing this. Because frankly, you can't learn enough lessons if you're switching around from thing to thing. And to pull in a reference from Scott Adams, I don't know if you've read any of Scott Adams' stuff, but you can't build your skill stack if you're constantly shifting back and forth. So if you get Google Ads skills, and then you get some sales skills, and then you get some, content creating skills, you can stack them up, and suddenly you look more talented than you are. I'm the perfect example of that, but if you're constantly shifting what you're doing, you're never going to stack those things on top of each other.
I'm gonna throw one thing in there in terms of skills that I think will help you no matter what you do moving forward, and that's the management of cash through a business. It's understanding your numbers, because I think if you could become a better operator in the business, it's a more important skill to have than necessarily the service that you're offering, whether it be Google Ads or SEO or landscaping or power washing or real estate investing, whatever it is. I think the operator mentality, so understanding the flow of leads through your business, your sales process, understanding your numbers and that going through an accounting system, a bookkeeping software, knowing your CRM, that kind of stuff is super valuable because it's transferable into other businesses. So I'd almost say learn to be a good operator in your business just as much as, and become the 10,000 hour expert in that, in addition to whatever skill, whatever service you're going to be offering, whether it's Google Ads, SEO, web design, whatever it is. That operator piece is super valuable because certain platforms will come and go. I'm not saying Google is coming or going, but there were industries built around the fax machine, and that's no longer there. But those operators that ran those businesses are now operating other businesses. So I think not enough people put weight on being able to operate the business itself and manage the cash flow through the business. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, the numbers are 100% essential. And frankly, you can apply that skill to any other business. But if you're not watching your numbers, you don't know what your costs are. Obviously, you don't know what your costs are. If you don't know what your numbers are, you really don't understand your business at all. You don't know if you're going to make a profit. If you're just looking in your paycheck, in your checkbook and hoping that you have enough money to pay the bills, you have to know exactly where it's going. So you break it down you can break it down as much as you want to. But you certainly have to break it down into, these are my fixed costs that I have every month. These are my variables. And you have to look at those numbers and say, whoa, that seems out of whack. Like we basically will assign, I don't want to spend more than X dollars per account on optimization. I don't want to spend more than X dollars on acquiring a client type of thing. Yep. Now, I don't always achieve those numbers, but at least I have a number. Yep. How do I have those numbers? Because I know my numbers. Because you spend as much time in your numbers as you do with your people, I think. And 100%. with your all the services that you offer, or the glossy thing that the outside people see, is the internal stuff that's the health of your business.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could strip out everything that we're doing here and layer that into another service-based business, and it'd be very, very similar in terms of the functioning of the business itself. You've got your the lead generation, you got the marketing, the lead generation, the delivery of that service, whatever that might be. So like getting good at being an operator, I think is just as important, if not more important, of a skill set for you to have in your career. So if you're an agency owner, if you're a business owner already, keep that in mind. Practice the art of operating the business. I think that'll make your life a lot easier moving forward.
Yeah, what's the book, The E-Myth? Obviously, that's a great one for that whole thing. And one of the things that I'm going to put out in the content that I swear I'm going to create, because it's interesting to me, is that leap from contractor to agency. Yep. Because that's very difficult. It took me about 3 tries, and I did the whole Wile E. Coyote thing about 2 times. Where I almost made it to the other cliff, and then I, landed flat in my face. It's difficult to go from just me and my expenses and me running everything to creating a team. Yep. Piling up new expenses that you didn't have before, and all the things that go into that. And so start learning your numbers early. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Before you have to panic and realize, because I hear all these numbers all the time, we're doing $1 million a month in recurring revenue. Well, who cares? What if you're spending 1.1? Right. But if someone's doing 200,000 a month in recurring revenue and they're spending 50, God bless them. That's a good business right there. Way more attractive. Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much for your time today, Mark. I appreciate it. Mark, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you on Facebook? How do they find your company website? Where do they go? www.inboundrevenue.com, or just search up Mark Kelly on Facebook. Awesome. You should find me. Awesome. All right. That's it for the recording. Thank you, everyone, guys. Have a great day and a great weekend. Thanks, Ed.